Live from the capital city, Carolina News brings you your news first. With breaking news and in-depth reporting. Up-to-the-minute weather. And all your sports news and highlights. It's all here, now, on Carolina News.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Carolina News. I'm Allison McHugh.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Nick Jones.
Our top story this evening is an anti-Semitism bill that was heard this morning at the State House. The proposed bill was met with controversy as some people felt it may break their First Amendment rights. Tiffany Lewis is in the newsroom with more.
Thanks, Allison. A proposed bill caused a heated debate this morning at the State House. The bill would define anti-Semitism on the state's college and universities' campuses as any dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations against Jewish people or the state of Israel. While the first part of the bill was met with praise, the Second Amendment regarding the criticism of Israel is making some people feel that their voices are being taken away.
To do with anything.
Elaine Cooper was one of the many people that came out to debate a proposed anti-Semitism bill.
Freedom of speech, even though I know you think this doesn't violate freedom of speech, but it does.
Everyone who showed up today agreed with the main purpose of the bill to ban anti-Semitic language and actions on college campuses, but some opposed citing the passages relative to Israel.
The problematic part, the part that's a hot mess, is the part that says, what is anti-Semitism relative to Israel?
Many feel that by banning their ability to criticize Israel, their First Amendment rights are being taken away. Palestinians are among those directly affected, as the two countries have been in conflict for almost a decade.
It's important for me as a Palestinian to talk about my identity and my history, and this bill just denies that.
But bill supporters disagree. They believe that the bill does not ban speech about Israel, but bans anti-Semitic speech in relation to Israel.
Free speech rights are undiminished. That is to say, the legislation would not violate the First Amendment.
This hearing comes just one day after President Trump condemned anti-Semitism in the wake of bomb threats on Jewish community centers. If passed, South Carolina will be the first state to pass an anti-Semitism bill for college campuses. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Tiffany. Despite backlash, the introduction of the bill comes as a sigh of relief for others here in the Midlands. Our Jada Williams has a reaction from one of the first communities to receive a threat.
Recent threats to the Jewish community have left many across the country on edge. And here in Columbia, tension runs high. Barry Abels, executive director of the Katie and Irwin Kahn Jewish Community Center, was there when the threat was called in.
Well, and that time, that same day, another 15 bomb threats occurred throughout the country, but that was just emerging as this was going on. So, as they were here investigating our situation and looking to clear our building, we were learning more and more about what was going on at other centers throughout the country.
The Katie and Irwin Kahn Jewish Community Center is one of 48 in 26 states to have received a bomb threat just this year alone. The threat initially took the center for surprise.
Well, when you get the bomb threat, you go through a variety of emotions. I mean, first, oh my God, what's going on? It's scary. Is this real? What do we need to do? And then you stop and you have to gather, and you need to do that very quickly, and put your hat on that says, okay, we know what we're going to do, and let's enact that thing.
And students on USC's campus also expressed concern.
I mean, I was very surprised just because it hits very close to home. It's one thing to see headlines around the country about, various major cities that are dealing with it or anything like that, but to have a community center that I myself have volunteered at, that I was planning on volunteering at later on this year, to know that a bomb threat was placed was, it was shocking, and it just spoke to the issues that we're facing right now and how legitimate this threat of anti-Semitism is and how seriously it needs to be taken.
Jewish fraternity Alpha Epsilon Pi came together after the incident to uplift their community.
It's sometimes hard to conceptualize until things actually happen, and then when they do, it hits you like a rock over the head. And so
the JCC is taking action in case something like this happens again, but they aren't letting the threats keep them down.
It scares people. You know, I think one of the reasons that you do a bomb scare or a bomb threat is to disrupt and to create havoc and to bring fear to people. You know, and I think how we then react to it says, okay, do these people win or do they not?
Jada Williams, Carolina News.
While legislation regarding anti-Semitism has found its way to both state and national politics, the Katie and Erwin Kahn Jewish Community Center is taking necessary precautions to prevent further tragedy.
Well, it has been pretty sunny out there the past few days, but could things be changing? Let's check in with our weather reporter, Caitlin Mathias, who's out on the Horseshoe. Caitlin?
That's right, Allison. It has been beautiful and sunny this week, as you can see on the Horseshoe behind me. Plenty of students are taking advantage of this warm weather. Unfortunately, we've got some storms heading our way later today, but things are going to warm back up before a slightly cooler weekend. I'll have your full forecast and more later in the show. Back to you in the studio.
A coroner has ruled the death of Clemson's associate athletic director a suicide. Officials believe that Bert Henderson shot himself in a wooded area about a mile from his home. A search team found Henderson's body on Tuesday. His wife also recently died in November after a battle with cancer. The coroner believes that Henderson's suicide was caused by the loss of his wife.
New GPS evidence has risen in the case against convicted Charleston shooter Dylan Roof. Prosecutors in the case say that GPS says he was driving toward a second AME church after he left Emmanuel AME. They claim that Branch AME Church in Somerville was originally going to be Roof's next target, but he didn't end up going through with it. Roof was sentenced to death last month in federal trial and is now awaiting his second death penalty trial in state court.
One upstate man has been federally indicted after threatening Presidents Donald Trump and Barack Obama. The man, 30-year-old Kipper Ken King of Spartanburg, has been charged by a federal grand jury. Very few details have yet been released on the threat or indictments if convicted. King could face 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fines.
And down in the Low Country today, Charleston will be hosting someone who sparked change across the state. Bree Newsom, a woman who climbed a 30-foot flagpole to temporarily take down the Confederate flag, will be speaking tonight at the Sawtile Theater. The event, which will be hosted by the College of Charleston, is being protested by the Secessionist Party. The group has been posting Confederate flags in downtown Charleston in response to the speech.
When you think of the best food and beverage cities in the country, you might think of New York, Chicago, or Miami. You'd be surprised what's blending in your own backyard. Our reporter Haley Anders has the story.
Food and beverage is quickly becoming the bread and butter of the capital city.
It's amazing what we have in Columbia. The food scene is picking up here. It's getting even better. The beverage scene is already there.
The pioneer of this movement is Motor Supply, where Josh Streetman is shaking things up behind the bar.
There hasn't been too many people I've seen that can do what he can do.
We like to see what we can do to challenge our customers, what we can do to challenge ourselves and make ourselves better.
A challenge that leaves patrons and professionals in awe.
I actually ended up walking into Motor Supply one day, sat at the bar, was having a bad day. We started talking, and I said, mix me whatever, and he just started whipping up drinks, and I'm like, wow, dude, wait a minute, I've never even seen this before.
Every now and again we get those, actually that's pretty good, where it's something that you don't expect. Drinks that we call kind of the odd bedfellows.
Do you think Josh can make a drink out of anything?
Yeah, if you give him enough time. If you give him enough time, he'll come up with something. He is that creative.
So we put Josh to the test. First ingredient, maple syrup.
Tequila, pine, maple, and walnut margarita. I tasted it before. Let me taste it.
Next, something a little more challenging.
Okay.
Pralines.
Whoa!
Maybe not so challenging for Josh.
Whiskey White Russians. Praline Whiskey White Russians. Get the idea.
While Josh might have passed the test, the real winner is Columbia.
You never know what you're going to end up with in any of these places that are open. So I think that's experiment and have fun with it.
Your raspberry bombers or whatever. This is going to be a weird one, but
From the Vista, Haley Anders,
it's going to be fun though.
Carolina News.
John says he wishes he had more days off to go try out all the new restaurants in town. He's excited about the growing interest in Columbia's food and beverage scene.
And speaking of mixing, today is an unusual national holiday. Shake up your evening and grab a frozen margarita or one on the rocks, or how about get both? Because today is National Margarita Day. Margaritas have taken the top spot for a fan favorite over the years and continue to reign across the country. So kick back and treat yourself while celebrating one of America's many national holidays. I mean, that sounds great to me. I could go for some chips and salsa and a marg, right, for dinner, you know, a little evening.
And one place maybe people want to go to is Motor Oil with Josh. Maybe he'll make some up, a little margarita.
Yeah, that's perfect. That sounds good.
Yeah. Still to come on this evening on Carolina News, pharmacy students from around the state met today to discuss current legislation and the future of healthcare profession.